Holy shit, that episode almost gave me a panic attack. Let's just get into it. Here are my immediate thoughts on The Penguin Season 1, Episode 3. Hey everyone, this is Lenny here. So we're just going to talk about Episode 3 of The Penguin for Season 1. This episode was titled Bliss. And this episode was just an absolute wild and crazy time. So just as a reminder for everyone, this is a spoiler review. There's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about. So unless you have seen this episode of The Penguin, I suggest for you to go back, watch that, and come back here. Or buyer beware. There's a lot of shit we're going to talk about. So we got the cold open and we see Vic and his girlfriend. And this scene was actually constructed really well because when it started, I really thought that we were in the present. And, Vic goes back home. He's talking with his family. His dad's a mechanic. And, they're just kind of scraping to get by. But the family's living on simple means. And they're sort of content and satisfied with that. But Vic obviously seems to want more. He goes back to a party to meet up with his girlfriend. His dad is kind of against, hanging out with some of the friends that he does, with the circle that he does. And then we see all the bombs go off. And that's when you realize, oh shit, no, this is a past event. This is a flashback to, the Riddler setting off all the bombs at the end of The Batman. But then we get into the episode proper. We're in present day. And Oz is, he's just sort of matter-of-factly revealing his plans to Vic. And this episode was really all about Vic. A lot of this episode focused on Vic and the choices he's making and how he believes, the situation that he's in and how that, all builds to, ultimate consequences and finally an ultimate decision that he does make. And I have to say, Renzi Feliz as Vic stepped up to the plate, especially in this episode, to show Vic as a super multi-layered, complex character. So Oz sets Vic up with a salary of $1,000 a week, and this obviously blows Vic's mind. And Vic, tries to, show some dominance to show, his worth, and tries to be like, hey, I want $2,000 a week. And Oz is like, hey, that's the spirit, but no, we're not doing that. But that was actually a really nice scene. There's a few little nice scenes between Oz and Vic, and obviously showing this mentor-mentee father-son relationship between the two of them. But then poor Vic is placed in this unenviable task of having to entertain Sofia for a few minutes as Oz gets ready. So he gets Sofia inside, and Vic just gets back into full panic mode. His stuttering is all over the place. And Sophia's just watching him, and she's like, yeah, so how did you meet with Oz? And Vic is just stuttering his way through everything. He can't even get a lighter to work. He tries to stumble his way into saying that, oh, he's a mechanic, and that's how he met Vic. And Sofia kind of drops a bomb that, hey, did you know that Oz used to be my driver? And this episode also starts to plant seeds into the past between Oz and Sofia, because obviously Oz did something to Sofia that caused her to be put in Arkham. And this show, we're only on episode 3, but it has already done such a great job of establishing who our characters are and sort of, the feel of who they are at their core. So when we get these character interactions, they're really new and interesting and dynamic. But with Oz, he had a plan where Vic was going to drive him and Sofia around everywhere. But Sofia's like, no, that's not happening. Oz, you're going to be my driver. You're going to drive me around the city tonight. And Oz is like, okay, well, then Vic, you stay here. If you do anything, I'm going to know. And they go out together. And here's where things get wild. So Oz finds out that the new drug that Sofia is looking to pump out into Gotham is from a mushroom. They're like spores or sap from these mushrooms. And these are drugs that were actually used in Arkham. And they are calling this drug Bliss. And Sofia's walking Oz through the the chemistry lab and everything like that, where they create the drug, and it's blowing Oz's mind. And they have to then go get everything set up to find a distributor. Sofia also tasks Oz with being the one to make sure that Luca Falcone and Johnny Vita does not know what is going on. Now, while all this is going on, Vic and his girlfriend are over at Oz's place, and obviously, Vic is showing off everything to impress his girlfriend. And the girlfriend is like, hey, you know what? I'm going to California. There's nothing here for me. Our families are dead. They died in the flood. So what's left for me? And Vic is like, yeah, so here's my situation. And Vic basically explains that he believes that he is a hostage with Oz. And this is another great scene with Renzi Feliz as he just really deteriorates, trying to explain away, how trapped he is. And his girlfriend's like, this isn't a life for you then, so just run away with me. He's given the choice to go with her, and he's like, you know what, yeah. He gives her a little bit of cash and, sets her on her way and says, hey, get a bus ticket for me and I will meet you there. There's a little scene between Sofia and Johnny Viti, and Johnny Viti, again, is just a condescending asshole. And he's like, listen, here's a plane ticket to Italy. In a couple days, you're going to get on that plane, or I'm going to tell everyone that you got on that plane and you're in Italy. I don't know if that was like a veiled threat on her life or what, but it is just so obvious that this show wants us to hate Viti, and they're really doing a good job of that. I mean, Michael Kelly is just absolutely amazing at playing a truly detestable character. And so when things go down and Johnny Viti meets his end, it's going to be really satisfying. So Vic, Sofia, and Oz go to Chinatown. They have to link up with the Triads. They're going to try to set them up to be the distributors of this drug Bliss. And when they meet up, the leader of this, I guess the head of this club, is like, hey, Oz, you owe us a bunch of money. Oz seems to be stiffing everyone left and right, and no one trusts this guy. It is a miracle that he is still alive and kicking in this city. And while Sofia and Oz are trying to set up negotiations with the Triads, Vic is in Oz's car trying to practice what he's going to say to try to convince Oz to let him leave. And he's just like, yeah, he's gonna kill me. Now, while Vic is practicing what he's going to say to the Penguin, the worst possible thing happens. A police officer comes up and Vic is just like, oh my God, what's going on? And Vic just goes into panic mode. I don't know how this guy is going to survive. The police officer's like, step out of the vehicle. He comes out. Vic is all stuttering. He's like, are you nervous? And Vic's like, no, I just stutter. And it's just like, this is just horrible. The police searches him and finds all this cash that Oz gave him. Saying, this is a lot of money that you're holding for someone your age. And Vic, for the first time in this show, really, really thinks on his feet and is like, I don't have any money. What are you talking about? And bribes the police officer. And the police officer's like, okay, it's cool. When your boss gets here, just make sure he moves the car out of the loading zone. And you could just see right from there the corruption that has infested Gotham City all the way through law enforcement. So the underboss of the Triads wants to hear straight from Johnny Viti, because Sofia and Oz sets it up saying, yeah, the three of us are going to look at taking Luca Falcone down. We're going to take over the family. We're going to distribute this new drug. This is the future. So the underboss of the Triads are like, sure, let's get Johnny Viti on the line. If, my boss hears from him, then we're all good. But what was interesting in this scene was the dynamic between Sofia and Oz. It seems like you're seeing a play on who really has the power dynamic, and that is something that this episode talks about as well. The next scene is Vic and Oz at a restaurant, and Vic is bragging about bribing the police officer, and Oz talks about how proud he is of Vic's progress. And it's actually pretty funny. There's an irony that actually comes in a little bit later into play in the episode where, Oz talks about how he's so proud of Vic, and that sort of contrasts, how Vic's dad sort of saw the world of crime. And then, later in the episode, that comes up again, and Vic is like, no, my dad would not be proud of me of what I am doing right now. But it was a really nice scene. Vic really gets into, his family, what they were like. And, it's a really nice moment shared between Renzi Feliz and Colin Farrell. And this show is just a masterclass of acting. And the next scene is Sofia and Oz pretty much sneaking up on Johnny Vitti and catching him in the act of fucking Luca Falcone's wife. And, Oz is like, hey, we got you. And Johnny Vitti is defiant to the end. He's like at Sofia, he's like, you're gonna trust this guy to take down your uncle? Are you crazy? Vitti starts insulting, just hurling all these insults at Oz. And Oz snaps, and you see it coming. But what he does, Colin Firth is absolutely terrifying. He has his switchblade. He jumps on Johnny Vitti on the bed, and he is just absolutely menacing. To the point where, he convinces Johnny Vitti to call up the boss of the Triads to set up a major meeting to distribute this drug Bliss. And then we get the scene where Oz and Sofia are with the head of the Triads. And I did notice now, ever since that last episode with Sofia sleeping in the closet, I always notice now, she's always wearing something around her neck, whether it's a collar or a choker or something like that, but she always has something around her neck. And in the club, Vic is the bag man. He's the one who's controlling and has all of the drugs that are going to be, distributed out in the club. Oz has all of his sex workers. They're distributing the drugs. They're selling everything. And, Sofia and Oz, again, they're playing that power dynamic of who is really in control of the negotiations of, how this drug is going to be pumped into the city, who's getting the cuts and everything like that. Because clearly, Oz knows how the streets work, but Sofia is the name. She's the Falcone. She's, the one that has the credibility. And then we still have this whole thing of what did Oz do to Sofia 10 years ago that got Sofia into Arkham? We see Oz and Sofia later on, and Oz pours his heart out. He apologizes, and it doesn't seem like Sophia's 100% convinced, but Oz actually tears up. I don't know if that is a performance within a performance or, he's genuine. But I mean, Colin Farrell is he's just out of this world in terms of what he's doing with this character. But poor Vic, while everything's going on, I thought at first it was him having a bad trip, but he has a panic attack. And he starts to relive everything that happened with the explosions and the bombs going off. It's like the lights in the clubs are just too much for him. And he just has a PTSD flashback. He drops all of these drugs. It's lucky that none of them broke, because that definitely would have been his ass. He would have been murdered right then and there on the spot. But he goes to the bathroom. He has to wash his face. Oz walks into the bathroom and he's like, hey man, this is awesome. You've been a bad guy. You stepped up. I told you needed to step up, and you did. I'm so proud of you. Your dad will be proud of you. And Vic is like, no, my dad would not be proud of me. And you can see the conflict. While all of this is going on, his girlfriend is continually texting him like, hey, have you talked to your boss yet? Are you coming? Where are you? I'm about to get on the bus. And you can see this ticking clock going where, Vic has to make this choice of whether he is going to stay in Gotham or if he is going to go and make a better life for himself. So Oz gets a hold of Vic's phone and sees all of these text messages and he's like, oh, were you thinking of leaving me? And Vic was like, well, I don't know because, and Oz is like, do you think that I was holding you hostage? And Oz just loses it. And it's funny because earlier in the episode, Vic is talking to his girlfriend and it's like, Oz is it seems like he's just lonely and just wants someone around. And it's like Vic knew all of this. So, you could kind of see why Oz would be so upset at being like, why would you think that I'm keeping you hostage? You could have left anytime you want. Even though, sure, that first time Oz threatened him, I would kind of understand why Vic might think that he is, in a hostage situation. But it seemed like Oz was genuinely hurt. Oz is like, you know what? If you want to go, go. And Vic is like, are you sure? And he leaves. And at that point, it's like, Vic has a chance to leave this lifestyle. And then we have that final sequence where Vic is really making that final choice on whether or not he's going to stay in Gotham or go to California with his girlfriend. He does decide to stay. His girlfriend gets on the bus, she leaves. Because this episode was really about what Vic wants, and it seems like what he wants is what Oz is also striving for, which is to be sort of a kingpin of the underworld. So Oz is with Sofia, they're sharing a cigarette, and it seems like everything is cool until a black van shows up. Nadia from the Maronis pulls up and she's like, you think you could fuck with us? And it's like, what just happened? And we see Vic rolling up and he sees what's happening and he just guns it. Kills one of Nadia's henchmen. He's able to get Oz. They drive off and Vic is like, what about Sofia? And Oz is like, leave her. And they just drive off. And Oz, throughout this whole ending sequence, is laughing his ass off. He's like, hey, we're in it now, aren't we? And Vic is just like, yeah, I am in it now. This was a hell of a cliffhanger because now I just want to see how the hell they're going to get out of this. I mean, they're on the run. They're on the run from Nadia and the Maronis. They left Sofia Falcone to die, so what's going to happen with that? What's going to happen now that, she's on the street and she's probably not going to get on this plane to Italy? What are going to be the repercussions of that? What are the repercussions of so many things now that's happening? Like, are the Maronis going to try to take credit for this new drug now? Like, it seems like this crime war is really underway between the Falcones and the Maronis. So yeah, what is going on? This episode was insane, and again, it was like close to an hour, and it just didn't feel like it. The episode just flew by. The acting from everyone in this episode, like normal, was just top notch. But this episode particularly belonged to Renzi Feliz as Vic. He knocked it out of the park. And, it was really great getting into his story, into his point of view, and into, his wants and needs as this complex character. This, he's someone who doesn't seem like that there's a whole lot for him in terms of this life of crime, but he is pushing for it. He's trying. And now he's made the ultimate decision. And now he's going to have to live with those consequences. So we're going to see how all of that's going to play out. But this was just another great episode of The Penguin. If I was going to give a rating, this is another blockbuster. I mean, 3 episodes in, and this show is just firing on all cylinders. So I am ready for episode 4. Let's just go. But those are my immediate thoughts on The Penguin Season 1, Episode 3. What did you guys think of the episode? Share your thoughts, leave your comments, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell icon so you can get notifications as well. Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care.